And we conclude tonight with Steve Gruel, who is a former federal prosecutor of 16 years and specialized in organized crime, gangs, white-collar offenses, opened his own office here in San Francisco and Los Angeles, and now, most notably, represents Supervisor Ed Ju against both federal charges and the mayor's removal proceedings and that whole residential, did he live here or not?
Yes.
Remarkable story from the first time you came on. It is so clear that many people want Ed Ju to go away, and they're intimidating him, and now the mayor is included. He had stepped back. Explain that pretense to removing him.
Well, I think the mayor previously was taking the high road and was not going to get involved in the swirl of the politics of getting involved in trying to remove Supervisor Ed Ju, and he kept saying he would wait until the evidence arrived. And when the federal charges came down in the form of a complaint, I recall seeing the mayor say things like, enough is enough, and he's got to take action. And I was trying to get a hold of the mayor and tell him, you know, hold on, let's see what the evidence really consists of. And I never had the opportunity to talk with him about that.
The mayor.
The mayor, and it just didn't happen. But subsequently, I've tried to find out what is the evidence to show enough is enough. And I've come back and learned from the city attorney and from the mayor that the evidence they acted on was nothing more than a complaint, the federal complaint, which is laden with hearsay, and a press release from the Department of Justice. Now, I don't know where, you could be anywhere, and that's not evidence in my book. And I don't think it's evidence anywhere else.
It's an indictment.
It's not even, yeah, it's an accusation.
It's an accusation.
And nothing more than that.
And now, has he continued, under your pressure, has he continued to claim that's the reason, or has he gone back? I understood he was going back now to the residency question.
Well, in fact, they did backpedal, and now we're back to the residency issue. And what I've been told through the mayor's office and through the city attorney's office is this was never about the federal complaint, never about the accusations by the FBI, that we're back to the residency issue. Mm-hmm. However, in the mayor's written charges, there are several paragraphs that explicitly refer to the federal investigation. And if this is not about that any longer, I've asked the mayor and the city attorney to delete those paragraphs from the written charges. If they're not relevant to anything, then why are we dealing with
well,
it?
in both cases, whether you're talking about the charges against him from the federal side, the charges against him from the city attorney's side, none of that's been proven. There's still accusations. So what changed for the mayor to be able to say, if he's not using the federal one, what changed? He knew what the charges were from the city attorney's office. What changed so he could say enough is enough?
As where I stand or sit, nothing. Okay. Nothing changed.
Look, there is no question. You know that after we talked last time, I wrote an article called "The Ed Ju Pile-On."
Yes.
I have information that 2 months before the sting operation, an aide of one of the top supervisors went down to the aide of Ed Ju and said, "Your boss is going to jail." Now, that means, and this is, I believe, just about the time the planning department was getting concerned about tapioca, that they're going to need some extra permits, and Ed's going to step in, and he was notified. We're not even sure that that had occurred. Somebody or some group had planned to somehow get rid of Ed Ju. It's clear. This is not just something that Ed Ju caused to happen. Now, you don't want to comment on that?
I can't comment on anything like that. I mean, okay. It's.
But would you agree that you've never seen in your career these many public officials from Washington to city attorney's office all together in unison?
Well, it seems to be a pile-on, as you mentioned, that is relentless. That seems to be, coordinated, concerted, and trying to, achieve a goal. And the goal is to remove Supervisor Ed Ju from that office. Now, it's either going to come, from their perspective, through criminal convictions or through this hearing through the San Francisco Ethics Commission. And one of the things I tried to tell the mayor privately, but he wouldn't listen, so I tried to do it publicly, was there's no reason to go into the Ethics Commission at this time. You've got the city attorney, or the district attorney's matter pending. You've got now these federal matters pending. You've got the quo warranto proceeding with the attorney general pending. And if you really want to do this in a thoughtful, reasoned fashion, I think what you should do is hold off on removing the supervisor or bringing those actions, and see what happens. If he is convicted,
then of course,
then this is all academic, and he's removed from his position automatically. If, however, they remove him, and he prevails in state court, he prevails in federal court, you might as well roll up the truck, because he's going to have a heck of a lawsuit against the city and county of San Francisco.
You can do that?
You bet. You know, it would be a clear constitutional violation of due process against the supervisor, and based on what? On pure conjecture. If he succeeds in courts of law where the Ethics Commission fails, it seems to me he has the ability to waltz into federal court and bring a lawsuit.
And get his seat back?
Get his seat back and bring a civil rights action. That's a serious concern, and it's a needless concern, in my opinion.
Are you prepared to do that? Go all the way if he asks you to?
Yes.
Is he psychologically prepared and financially prepared to go all the way?
Yes.
Are you going all the way?
Until told otherwise,
So
of
you were
course.
a federal prosecutor. What do you make of a mail fraud charge in a sting operation?
Well, I've referred to it previously as a kind of a throwaway charge or a catch-all charge. When you don't have anything else, you kind of throw that in. Maybe it exists in this particular case, maybe not. But in my opinion, in my experience, I've never seen where the federal government brings a federal complaint consisting of 27 pages on a case like this. Usually, if you truly believed in the case, you would bring it in a fashion like an indictment. And to have a very media-friendly 27 pages, which goes, page by page, trying to go after the supervisor, I think speaks for itself.
Now, the tape during the sting was in Cantonese. I mean, they were speaking Cantonese.
Well, if you read the complaint, it seems like there were several tapes.
There were several tapes.
Several tapes. Some in English, some in Cantonese, but yes. But
is there, okay, a lot of people ask this question, and even here I would fault Ed for taking any cash, okay? I mean, and the city regulations say if you report it in 30 days, it's still okay. Is there anything from your background in federal law and what they've done to officials in the past where just taking money, even if you offered a receipt and they didn't want a receipt, as Ed contends, they didn't want a receipt, and you haven't heard the tapes, no one's really seen a transcript of the tapes.
That's right.
We don't know if that's true or not.
That's right.
But if they refused to take a receipt and he held the money for a period of time, is there anything wrong with that?
No. Unequivocally, no. I mean, and
does it happen often?
Probably not.
Okay.
And I've said this actually to Ed himself. I said if you're guilty of anything, it's guilty of being stupid and guilty of being naive. But that does not equate with being criminal actions. Does not equate with criminal intent. And the thing that we did in this case, and as you mentioned earlier, Arthur, is that he did file the appropriate forms within the requisite time period to account for the cash that he was given as part of this whole, matter. So,
are there federal rules or federal laws that say that you can't accept money for this reason, but you can't accept money for this reason? I mean, do they set out when a public official can take cash?
Yeah, I don't know of any restriction on how you take cash or whether you can even whether you can. Well, it was stupid to do it. But it doesn't make it criminal. I mean, I guess that's
what I'm wondering is how did they ever try to regulate the ability of public officials to take cash?
Well, there's a couple things. There's certain forms that you have to fill out if it's over a certain amount of money. There are the donation forms that we in fact did fill out. The behested donation form, I think it's referred to. Mm-hmm. We filled that out in a timely fashion. So those type of paper safeguards are in place and adhered to them. And so, again, what we see here is one side of the story coming out in a pile-on fashion. The residency issue, now the federal issue, the ethics issue. Mm-hmm. This is all coming at one man who has yet to tell his side of the story. And he really can't because of the concerns he has with so many things going on at once. People want to hear his side of the story. He's happy to do that. But he has to do it in a way that affords him all the protections that he's entitled to.
But he hasn't.
He has not. He has
none
not
of the protections.
He hasn't. And one of the things the city attorney has been stating over and over again is that we gave him every opportunity to come in and talk about his residency. You know, that's a hollow statement, in my opinion, because their first letters to the supervisor were copied down below to the district attorney's office, which tells me that they were doing a criminal investigation at the same time period. Any defense lawyer would tell you that when they see something like that going on, you're not going to walk your client in and have an interview with no protections whatsoever and run the risk that he's going to say something that's going to be handed over to a district attorney or a federal prosecutor.
Don't you smell a conspiracy here? There's just too many people at work here. First of all, the big question, who went to the FBI to initiate the sting? It certainly wasn't the tapioca people, because they'd had no reason to do that, and also the timing. And I think that's what's key right now is, will that ever be revealed who went there and tipped the FBI?
It's quite possible that would be revealed. And what would have to happen is there would be a motion for discovery or some sort of exploration with the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Can they claim that they can't give you that information?
They could do that.
But it seems to me that will be, there's a way to trace that back to what I see as this pile-on, this as you use the word, concerted effort will be key. Who went to the FBI? It was clear, I know you don't want to talk about it, it was clear that he was moving up in the polls. It was clear the top public campaign manager in the city wanted him to run for mayor, that his positions were constantly against the mainstream, especially when it came to major projects in the city, at Treasure Island and at Hunters Point and now Candlestick Park, worth billions of dollars. I mean, is it possible that he was targeted because of his views?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to comment on that specifically. But, I mean, I've seen enough thus far that anything is possible. The thing that we've been doing is trying to remain steadfast in our position and fighting these allegations. They have come, from different angles repeatedly, and we will deal with them, one by one.
Tell me, we only have a minute left. What would you? This is a hard question, but what would you not want to hear in those tapes on the federal side? What would you not want to hear?
What I wouldn't want to hear is an unequivocal indication of wrongdoing by the supervisor. If there's ambiguity, if it's unclear as to what's going on, if the transcripts, when compared to whatever tapes, don't really match up, if the explanation by the FBI agent in his declaration for the complaint isn't what's on those tapes, then that's great. But if it's clear that there was wrongdoing, then that's what we wouldn't want to hear.
And you're hoping and trusting that that's not the case.
I am.
Steve Gruel will have you back.
Okay.
The show trial of the century is almost about to begin. Good luck.
Thank you, Arthur.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Visit our website at www.sfunscripted.com.